guys, it's John McNamara, host of Runnin Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, real estate with my co-host, Mr.
Rodrigo. Always happy to be here.
Thanks for being on, man. Then we got a special guest.
Very special.
Mr. Chris Ward, one of the top real estate coaches in the country.
Woo.
Thanks for being on, man.
Well, thank you. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, thank you for coming. It's exciting. Yeah, when I got into business, I joined John's team right away, and we're very, Tom Ferry. We followed it a lot. I mean, we still do, but it is kind of intimidating to have a Tom Ferry coach.
Wow,
very
next to me.
Wow, I don't mean to be intimidating. I'm kind of going for the opposite of that, but I'll take it.
Yeah, that look.
No.
Is that how your clients feel?
I hope so.
Well, thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Cool.
But yeah, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Awesome. So I know John probably knows a little bit more about you. We've met this year, but I feel like I've known you for longer than a year.
Yeah.
So where did you grow up, and why did you get into real estate?
So first of all, I figured if this guy could do it, then anybody can. So that's why I got into it. So you referenced that John's known me a little bit longer. So John actually is my older brother, for those who don't know me and don't know that. So John's 4 years older than me. We grew up together in upstate New York. I lived in Boston for a little while, and then got into real estate, honestly, because it was 2009 when I graduated from college. And as you can imagine, that was a difficult time to just kind of go find a job. And so I got the really great business degree / entrepreneurship degree, which kind of tough to just go sign up for a job with that. Nobody's really hiring the entrepreneurship degree. Most people don't even know it's a thing. Yeah. So got into real estate thinking, okay, I'll just kind of start my own business and I'll get into that. So actually kind of got a little lucky how I stayed in real estate, though, and John knows this. So I actually also started on his team back when I got started. Yeah.
Double trouble.
Yep. The OG over here.
Yeah. Was I the first ever team member, actually?
You were.
I was the first ever team member for the McNamara team. That's awesome. I didn't know that. Well, I guess I forgot that. Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And so when I got started, I actually came out here and I was thinking, hey, I'm going to get into physical therapy school.
Oh, wow.
And why I'm still in real estate was actually kind of lucky. So I had a conflict with some biology class or something like that where I needed to go, and the guy said I can't miss any. And I needed to renew my real estate license. Totally messed up the schedule on renewing it, like many people do who are agents. And so the guy said, nope, you failed the class. So I kind of quit physical therapy school because I failed that guy's class because I had to renew my real estate license that I was just doing short term until I became a physical therapist. And so, hey, thank you to that guy. If you're watching, I have no idea who you are.
Shout out.
But yeah, so that's why I'm still in real estate.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So you guys both moved from the East Coast around the same time.
So 2007, and I was still in college when he moved out, and so when I graduated, I moved out after. So you beat me by about a year or two.
I was 2008, September 15, 2008.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think you come a year or
about
two
2000,
later. Yeah.
late 2009, early 2010, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's very interesting, man. And of course, you were the first team member, but I got to say, I am the longest active member on the team.
You are, actually.
So,
Way to make it about you.
Double trouble. But that is interesting, man. Coming out here into town around 2008, 2009, it's challenging. I was growing up here during that time.
Making us feel old.
I know.
We're all in the same similar age. But what are you, being here since 2009, what do you enjoy about the town the most? What made you stay in Vegas, I guess?
Yeah, family is probably why I stayed in Vegas. Family and work is probably why I stayed here. John, other family members. What I like most about it by far is just that it's always sunny. Coming from Boston, I would go into work and it would be dark when I got there. It would be dark when I left, and I felt like I would never see sunlight. So what I like most about it is probably just that it's always sunny, and I love the weather.
Yeah, love the weather. Yeah, it is. It's always sunny here. It's hot. Yeah, it's dry. I come from, I don't know if you know, I come from South America, from Lima, Peru. So
did not know that.
Did not know. Yeah. We got to know each other a little better now.
There we go. This is great. Yeah.
But there's the ocean nearby, so a lot more humidity. So to me, it was very challenging. Coming into the heat here. So. For sure. Awesome. So, yeah, you've been in real estate coaching. So, at first, were you a salesperson? And what made you get into coaching? What made you transition from, being a salesperson? Well, I know you still do a lot of deals. So,
yeah, still sell. So, I've been selling for 14 years. And so, why I initially got into coaching. So, I've been a coach with Tom Ferry in particular for the last 6 years. Why I got into coaching is actually kind of interesting. So, when I moved out here, I wasn't doing real estate that long. Started off doing pretty well. I was really enjoying it. I actually got in a really bad car accident. So I got hit by a drunk driver going the wrong direction on Summerlin Parkway. And so I had a ton of injuries. The mindset that set in from that was really bad. I kind of had this victim mentality because something was done to me, and I was just kind of laying in bed a lot because I was in so much pain. Had a lot of pretty serious neck and back injuries. And so I ended up just falling kind of out of my rhythm. And I spent maybe like the next 6 months or so just really in the wrong headspace. And so someone invited me to an 8-week program that was essentially a coaching program. And what that coach kind of opened my mind up to is what made me want to be a coach. So in thinking about how a coach can really snap someone out of a really dark time in their life, change their mindset, put them on the right path, that's why I became a coach. Because watching kind of how that helped me, I wanted to do that with other people. Yeah,
and I appreciate you sharing that story. That sucks that you had to go through that. But you're right. Like a coach is, really your backbone, right? I feel the same. John's been my coach for over 5 years now, and he pulls me out of every dark moment. He pulls me into them, but he also pulls me out. So that's a great. I think everybody needs some sort of mentorship, coaching, guidance, right? So it's very important. That's awesome. So you being a coach now, how many active clients do you have, like on the top of your head?
Right now, I have about 27. Ooh. So the most I ever had at one time was 63.
Oh wow!
And that just wasn't me. That's not who I want to be as a coach, because I want to remember your kids' names, your dogs' names. I want to remember the last transaction. You say, hey, did I tell you about the one at 123 Main Street? Yes, you did. I want to remember that stuff, right? And I have a pretty good memory, as John knows. I found when I was coaching 63 people, I just started to kind of blend together. So I'm about 27 right now, and that's a real comfortable amount for me.
Yeah, okay. That's very interesting. And that's awesome that you get personal. I think that's important too. It makes the connection, the relationship a lot better. Yeah. So what are some of the challenges that you currently see with your clients? Some of the obstacles that come up? Are there any challenges that are coming up maybe multiple times, especially this year?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, the best advice I was ever given when I became a coach was from when I first got started at Tom Ferry. They assign you a coach to kind of get you comfortable, and you coaches have coaches, right? And so the best advice I was ever given was that you can't want it more than they do. Right? And as a coach, you get really invested and you're like, come on, why won't you do it? Why won't you do the thing? Like, what are you doing? Why are you self-sabotaging? Why are you procrastinating? Why won't you listen to me? Right? And so I think one of the biggest challenges that any coach will run into is just sometimes you want it more than that person. And I think that can extend past real estate into other things. But one of the main challenges that I run into is that certain people cannot find their motivation, and unfortunately maybe it's not always there, and this industry might not be the best fit. So I would say that's one challenge that I run into a lot. And another challenge that I run into a lot is honestly people scaling, right? So if someone says, hey, I've been in real estate, last year I did 12 deals, for example. Well, this year I joined coaching. I want to double my business. And everybody tells you, double your business, right? But I think there's a disconnect that people don't really think about and really acknowledge that, say I did 12 deals last year, 8 of them, 9 of them, 10 of them kind of came to me from Sphere, people I know, the referrals of people I know. So when you ask that person, okay, great, so let's talk about listings. How many listing appointments did you go on to achieve that? And on your listing appointments, what percentage of your listing appointments do you get a signature that day? And someone might tell you, I get 80%. So when someone says, I want to double my business, do you need to work twice as hard this year? No, the answer is not twice as hard. It's much more than that, because when you think about, well, I'm already probably getting all the meat off the bone or darn close to it of what I can from my Sphere and the people that are already going to transact and already going to use me. So if I want to go from 12 to 24, that remaining 12, the new 12, is probably going to be something that I had to create. And so when you think about the percentage of listing appointments that you go on that you get the signature, well, the people that know you, the people that already wanted to work with you, they almost always sign with you. But when we're thinking about these new things that you've created, the people that now want to sign with you, instead of maybe 80%, is closer to 20%. So now we're actually working 4 times as hard to create really double the business.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, especially with like expireds and FSBOs, it's a totally different game.
Yeah.
Of understanding your scripts and skills versus if you know somebody, it's pretty simple. It's the
Right.
1 minute listing presentation, you get it and you move on. So it's a really good point.
Yeah, and so people that really struggle to scale is never a surprise to me. And then it kind of to go with that is a phrase that I've kind of coined as like lead insecurity, right? So if you think of like food insecurity, like a common topic in America, people don't really know where their next meal is coming from. I feel that a lot of agents have no idea where their next lead is coming from because they don't have repeatability. They don't really know what I do A and B is produced. This is what I do. Most people kind of sit back and think, okay, I'm a realtor, people are going to work with me.
Right.
That's not really the case.
Yeah.
And so we need to have lead security in this industry. We have to have repeatability. We need to know where our next lead deal is going to come from.
Yeah, I always find that really interesting because I'm always wondering like what real estate agents are doing all day. Because I know what we do, we prospect, we go on appointments, and I'm always thinking in my head because I've been in multiple brokers for 20 years. I don't see any agents in these brokerages, and that has continued to go down over the years.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are these people doing to get business? I would be freaking out. So it's a really good point that you bring up.
Yeah.
And so how do you, like with your coaching clients, how do you challenge them? How do you get them to create more pillars? Like what's the strategy behind that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And so most people have an idea of what they want to do, what they know they should be doing, what they're not currently doing. The great thing about our business is it's so unique, it's individual. We create our own business the way that we run it. Just because you do something a certain way doesn't mean that another person has to do it that way too. So a lot of asking good questions to find out, well, how do you want to create those pillars? And then why? Like, why does that pillar attract you? You know, some people love digital marketing, which is a great pillar. It's really wonderful. You know, YouTube can create a ton of leads. That's wonderful. Other people really love cold calling. And then those two people are usually not the same. They usually conflict. Those are two really different things. Yep. So what's the type of business that you want to create? Asking good questions, finding out why, creating accountability and a schedule and a structure around that. Usually having some template as far as this is what's worked for other people is a good place to start. But to really kind of at the base of your question, I think accountability and tracking is the answer to all of that. Yeah. Right? It's all of that. So, you know, it's obvious with the cold calling, the FSBOs, expires, like the accountability and tracking is really obvious to that. But when you think about digital marketing, there's still a lot of accountability and tracking that we need to do through that, right? And it's short, it's long form, it's all these different types of videos. It's when are you shooting? What's your production calendar? When did you create all that material? And then when is it actually being posted? Yeah. There's a lot of different parts of that. And I think there's always a bottleneck. When people think of FSBOs and expireds, I make my calls today, wonderful. When people go into digital marketing, one of those things, there's usually a bottleneck to that. Yeah. Maybe it's waiting on my editor. Maybe it's I'm taking too long to get out and actually film. You know, we need to solve those problems. So when we're creating these lead generation pillars, we need to really be thinking about, well, what are the problems and then what are the solutions now so we can get ahead of them?
For sure. And I'm at fault at that too. I do a lot of content and my struggle is just posting it. I take the time, I create it, it's there on my phone.
Yeah, get it scheduled, right?
And going back to schedule, but kind of going back to your first point, finding your why, finding your chip. I know this is something me and John talk about constantly here on the podcast. It's very important. That's what's going to keep you disciplined. That's what's going to keep you calling. That's what's going to keep you creating. That's what's going to keep you in action, right? Sometimes when you don't necessarily know your why, when you're in an industry like we are, where we're self-employed, there's not really a boss behind you unless you're in John's team. You can waste a lot of time, doing activities that may not necessarily produce, right? So I agree.
So I'm just curious because you've been in the business a long time now, and you've seen our industry has changed a lot over the last 15 years. When I got in, or 20 years ago, date myself, that's really all you could really do is like open houses and cold calling. Now that it has changed and we have social media, YouTube, you're talking about all this digital marketing. I mean, say you're a new agent coming into the industry, what would you recommend? What are your thoughts? I know there's positive, negatives to both, but what's your kind of take on that?
That's a really
good advice to people.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and I luckily do have an answer. So, by far, the number one most productive way to be in real estate is a sphere, is a database. So, right away, you need to try and grow that, right? And so, if you speak to 10 people per day, new people per day, they've never spoken to, and you try to have a 40% conversion where you can use some scripts, and then you speak to those people in the future, you get them to agree to it. That's 4 people per day. 4 people per day over a normal work year is 1,000 1,000 people a year.
Yeah.
So if you're saying right now I have no sphere at all, I can't do that, we'll start working towards it. And even if you do have a sphere, wouldn't it be great to add an extra 1,000 into next year?
Beautiful.
Right? That would be wonderful. So having a sphere, having people that know you, people that you can come back to, past clients is obviously wonderful, friends, acquaintances, all of it. So creating a sphere is crucial. You have to have it. That's a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah.
When we work together, you have to either have it or you're building it, something like that. So that's one. But then I really think that we're trending towards a market where your personal branding is really important.
Yeah.
We probably are going to need trust more than ever as we get going forward. While we're going to see more buyer brokerage agreements, people are going to have to see and understand your value, right? So digital marketing becomes really important in that sense, because if I need to show you my value, wouldn't it be great if you've already watched a couple of my videos, you kind of have an idea of who I am as a person, my expertise, what it is that I specialize in, and then you show up saying, hey, here's the questions I have for you. And as long as you don't totally botch that appointment, you're going to be able to build trust with that person. And then that person will want to work with you going forward. So a couple answers right now is obviously having a strong sphere and then building trust with people through how that may be, but probably digital marketing.
Cool. Yeah, it is important. A lot of times, the appointments that I go into, probably 80% of the time, once I sit down at the kitchen table, they're like, yeah, we looked you up online. We saw your Instagram, or we saw your profile. We saw your Zillow reviews. So, yeah, just staying active on that. It's very important. I do agree that the presence online has to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to up our standards too, right? I love how you talk about adding 4 people a day.
Yeah.
Or my team, I'm always like, add 1 person a day. Like, I'm just happy when they can do that, but I love that. You do the quick math right there, 1,000 people. And Gary Keller talks about it all the time. You get to 2,000-3,000 people. You don't have to really build your business anymore, and then you just work that. So, love the numbers.
Yeah, that's really good information there. That's what happens when you put the brothers together.
Sometimes it can be scary.
Oh, yeah. Most of the times.
Yeah.
So I did hear you mention buyer's brokerage agreements. So what are maybe some of your predictions for this year going on and next year on what's going on with the market?
Yeah, you certainly want to be careful with too many predictions, because I could see a lot of different outcomes. So I don't really want to be the guy on camera here saying this is what's going to happen. But I do think one prediction that I'm comfortable saying is that we as agents are going to have to be able to demonstrate value unlike ever before.
Yeah.
So we have to, like I said, build trust. Also, there's a likability factor to this too. People work with who they like and who they trust. And so that's the other great thing about, digital content, branding, personal branding, that type of stuff, is because people can start to like us. You sit down at the table and they decide they want to work with you already. Right? I like that guy. He seems, kind of like me. People, attract like-minded people. So anyway, the point that I think I do feel comfortable saying is that we are absolutely trending towards more of a need for your own personal brand, building trust more than ever before. People are going to probably, in some cases, say, I may not need an agent on the buyer side. I'll go directly to the listing agent. You'll see more people that are comfortable doing that. So where do you fit in? How do you earn your commission? How do you, really show them that they need you, which I think a lot of people probably do, is going to be through building that trust beforehand, before that first meeting.
Yeah, I think you hit on the nose too. They have to like you, and I try to teach the team that all the time. Is like, you got to have fun in these presentations, make them laugh. Stick to the script, but you got to have fun in the process. The only way you can really do that if you actually internalize your scripts. But usually they pick the person they like the most and trust. So hit it on the nose. Yeah.
And I've kind of, me and John, we go over our appointment, my weekly appointments, and I've noticed that myself. Building rapport right now is the most important thing. Letting them know that I'm on their side. Whether that side might be very broad, it's another thing, but that I'm on their side. I'm their biggest fan. I'm their biggest cheerleader. I'm here to help them. I'm here to help them achieve their goals. When the market's great and all, like, it's kind of easier to go in there, take a listing, put a buyer under contract. But now I definitely feel the need to build a relationship. So that's. Yeah, that was a great answer. Thank you.
I've seen a massive shift just in the last 3 months, because, for the 18-month period, it was slow as heck. And now the folks are actually making the calls and building the business. Like, I am super busy. Like, we're going to have an amazing year. And the crazy stat right now is 49% of people didn't do a deal in real estate in Las Vegas in the last 12 months. Because they're not making their calls, they're not doing their business, and there's a ton of business. The numbers aren't too different from last year, but there's actually a ton of business out there.
Yeah.
Which goes to the bigger point too. So the consumer is not stupid, right? The consumer is not stupid. If I'm going to make a really large purchase, and let's say now I may need to pay you your buyer's agency commission, don't you think I might look you up and say, oh, wow, so I've looked up 10 people and 5 of them haven't done anything. Maybe I don't want to work with you. So we're going to see kind of more of a shift. I think a lot of agents out there are afraid of what could be coming, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that it's a bad thing necessarily for the average agent. It's a bad thing for it, to be clear. It is a bad thing for the average agent in their business. But for the agents who take it really seriously, they're full time, they're actually doing the content creation, they're actually speaking to people, they're creating a sphere, they have systems. I'm not so sure it's a bad thing, because as the client does look you up a little bit more, which I think that they will, the better agents are going to shine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know. We're excited about it. So yeah, we're ready.
I agree with you. I think it's just going to, more producers are going to have more opportunity. I always thought that when all the shifts are occurring, and it's crazy. It's all happening at the same time. But it's like literally like 5-10% of agents are doing like 90% of the business in town, and that's only getting worse. So
true. Well, we'll move on from the predictions. I do want to ask you a fun question.
Okay.
Could you share a success story of one of your clients who significantly improved their performance or achieved certain goals after working with you?
Yeah, a lot of people actually do come to mind, with various success stories. Some of them are kind of small, where it's like, hey, I am petrified. I mean, really scared of the phone. What would happen if I call? This person's mean to me. They yell at me. And it's little things, it's little wins where someone does it and they say, oh my gosh, I just made a call. The person said, yeah, come on over. Let's talk. And then you end up getting a listing, and then just the adrenaline that you get from something like that. There's plenty of stories like that. So if somebody's watching and they're afraid of the phone, just get out of your own way, just do it, and then you'll be really happy once you have that first win. But one person of everyone that I've ever coached, of the couple hundred people that I've coached, really comes to mind. And so when I met him, he was in graduate school, and so he was in graduate school. He was a part-time agent, and he wasn't making very much money at all, obviously, because he was very part-time. And so he started to kind of find his footing. He started to put up his own systems, and he was on a team at the time. But what he ended up doing was he spoke to 40 people every single day. And more than anyone else I've ever coached, he was just so disciplined. Put in his schedule. He was great about his scripts. He was great about his follow-up. And he created this really wonderful business where when you start with the core of something, he was able to add marketing to it. He was able to add a couple new things. And then he started picking up investment properties for his own rentals. Wow. And then he started picking up, his own flips. And he started a new branch of the company where he now has 13 employees. And he's 27 years old, by the way. And he just got engaged yesterday. So good for him.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so he ended up really creating this wonderful business. But what it did, why I really like him more than any other success story, is because he was so coachable, and he just said, I'm not going to make any excuses. I think more than anyone I've ever coached, he didn't have the limiting beliefs, and he didn't have the self-sabotage. And so what he did was he just went and he stuck to it, and he built this unbelievable business.
Yeah. Would you say that's a main factor with your clients? Like, they have to be coachable, they have to be a student, they have to be willing to learn. How important is that?
So it's very important, but I'm not going to hold that against somebody, because honestly, probably 8 out of 10 people are not coachable, which you've probably seen.
Yep.
So I'm not going to, it's not going to be a deal breaker for me. I'm just kind of work with what I have available.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
the ones that have success, though, it's the ones that are coachable.
Yeah.
So that's a common characteristic of a client who's successful.
Yeah.
Don't make excuses, they just do it. And
Go
why
after
rewrite
it.
the script when there's already successful people out there doing it?
Right.
That's the biggest red flag when I'm meeting new agents and they're like, I have this idea and I have this idea. Most of those ideas don't work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I love the point you made earlier too. It's the little impacts, right? Like, hey, it wasn't a big, but hey, I just coached them up. They got on the phone. That changed their life. I think those are the little wins, and I am grateful for a lot of the little wins, because it's easy in this business to get in your head and have a lot of fear, the unknown. Sometimes as a newer agent too, like, you take a listing, what's gonna happen? I'm hosting an open house every single weekend. Like, what else can I do? It's important to have that structure behind you to kind of guide you, support you. At the same time, they're your biggest fans, your biggest cheerleaders. So. Those are people that are rooting for you. I think that's the most important thing. So yeah, great points. So let's get a little personal. What are you passionate about? What are some of the things you enjoy to do here in town? Do you work out? Do you follow sports?
I'm offended he can't tell I work out.
I know.
Oh, man.
He's got his guns out right here.
Gosh. I wore that short sleeve
Hey,
shirt.
they said leave the guns. No
man.
guns in the building.
That's painful.
No guns in the building.
Man.
Well,
How
I
much
know
time's
you.
left to get
I
out of
know
here?
you work
Just
out.
flips the
but-
table.
Yeah, seriously.
He's out.
Who works
He's
out
out.
now? Yeah, so obviously sports and things like that is probably like my main passion. You know, what I like to do is watch sports, talk to John about sports, all of that type of stuff. You know, that's really what I'm passionate about. Hobbies wise, pretty much it's all sports related. Really, I don't have an awful lot of hobbies outside of sports. You know,
Here.
yeah,
We
passion.
grew up together.
Yeah, really. Passion as far as like work wise, you know, for me, it's kind of the point you just made, which is this is a really lonely industry.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't on teams. A lot of people are individual agents. A lot of people kind of sit around all day and they're like, wow, you know, what's the next thing I'm going to do? And so it gets really difficult from a mindset point. You know, a lot of our transactions last 30, 45, 60 days. And
Yeah.
so you're sitting there waiting, thinking like, okay, am I even going to get paid for this? And then one day comes along, one bad thing happens. You're thinking, oh my gosh, what if I don't get paid from this? Right? I don't have enough going on. Where so just, I don't think your average person who isn't in this industry realizes just the mind games that you constantly have to be going through. And so one thing that I'm passionate about from a coaching standpoint is just really trying to get people onto a productive mindset that isn't overwhelming. You're not burning yourself out. There's no self-sabotage. You have belief in your repeatability, what you've created, that this is going to work out. And so too many agents are just the most high-strung people you've ever met. They're just killing themselves just with stress. And so one thing that I'm really passionate about is just working with people on their mindset to live a more happy, productive life with a better work-life balance. Turn off your phone at a certain time, as crazy as that sounds, right? Like not always work every day on the weekend and just live the life you want and you work to support it instead of too many people that are letting work just destroy their lives.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time on my team because I have a lot of passionate team members over the years, and they'll work like 3 weeks in a row. I'm like, and I do the same thing, and you know this, but you'll burn out. You got to take a day or two off a week and not feel guilty about it. And the key is to be scheduled so you don't feel guilty. But yeah, you'll absolutely burn yourself out very quickly in this business. And I love, turn off your phone. You don't have to answer your email at 10 o'clock at night. So good points.
Yeah. No, it is good points. So going back to the local, do you follow any local sports? Do you have any favorite local teams?
Yeah, definitely the Golden Knights. I mean, it has to be. So
I knew it.
It has to be Golden Knights, right?
You used to like UNLV. Traitor.
Yeah. I used to like UNLV.
We had season tickets for a couple of years
You
when they were
stopped
good.
taking me to games. That's why.
Truth comes out. The hot take. This is what I wanted.
Yeah, Golden Knights for sure.
So you outgrew UNLV and he kind of stayed.
I don't know if I want to say that. That's, sorry to all the UNLV fans. I don't know if I outgrew
All
them.
two of us.
Yeah. They outgrew me. Let's go with that.
That's it.
Golden Knights took over. Big Golden Knights.
Yeah.
I think that happened to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and deservedly so. It's been great to watch the Knights over the years, and yeah, it's a fun time. So, and we had a great time. You got great seats right behind the goalie that one night.
That was so much fun.
It was
That
fun.
was the most fun I've ever had at a sporting event. We went and sat right behind the goalie, right on the glass. We got great seats given to us. We were so lucky that we had that.
VIP, drank all the beers.
Oh, all of them.
Yes.
You guys dried him out, huh?
Yeah, we
No,
drank
we
all
sure
of them.
did.
Yeah.
Well, I know you mentioned Boston earlier. So are you a basketball fan at all? Shout out to the Boston Celtics for winning NBA championship.
I am. I'm a big Celtics fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
we went to. I went to every single Celtics home game the year before they got Kevin Garnett. They were, I believe, the second worst record in the NBA that year. I remember we would go to the games. Nobody was even watching the games. They would always just be talking about, are we going to draft Greg Oden or Kevin Durant? Who are we going to draft? And then, as the lottery works out, we ended up with the 5th pick and, traded it away for Ray Allen. But yes, big Celtics fan. Went to tons and tons of games when I lived in Boston. And so,
Yeah.
I'll always be a Celtics fan.
Is that when they had Shaq?
They had Shaq after that.
Oh, okay. I remember we went to a couple games,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to remember. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Good times.
That's all. Did you watch the NBA Finals this time around? at
Every
all?
game. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, every playoff
Yeah,
game.
big
yeah.
basketball guy here.
Yeah.
Big basketball.
Yeah.
We'll
I'm a
have to
football
do.
guy. Well, no, you're big in football, but
Yeah.
he was always very passionate. Played basketball, great basketball player.
Yeah,
you.
that's awesome, man. Well, shout out to Celtics. That was a great series. I'm glad Jason Tatum was able to get a ring now. So
Yeah.
18 banners.
So you think they're real? They're going to do it again, or?
I don't know if they're going to do it again. I think they definitely can. They can do it again. Will they? I'm not totally sure. They've got some cap problems developing, so we'll see what the depth looks like on the team. So some of their players, like Porzingis, are a little injury prone. We'll see kind of how they can do year over year. Al Horford played a big role. He's getting a little older. So depth is going to matter with this team, I think.
Jaylen Brown, man.
He's great.
Yeah.
It's a beast.
Yeah.
Remember we got drafted. All right. We're going to wrap this up. Thanks, Mr. Rodrigo, best co-host in the business.
Yes, sir.
And Chris, hey, if you're looking for a house or you want to be coached, one of the best coaches in the business, Chris Ward, thanks for coming on. My brother. Guys, this is Runnin Vegas. Take care of yourselves today.
Thanks for having me.